Hello everybody and welcome to my latest video, which is the first of the Cars of the Years videos. Now I know I've already done Drives of the Years, and that's about racing cars, that's about things that have been used on the track, but this series, the Cars of the Years series, is going to be all about those cars that actually were available to drive on the road. And we're starting with something pretty special. Now this was quite a big decision. What car do you start with? Because that's quite big, you know. If I get to the point where hopefully these videos are popular enough that I'm doing them for quite some time, it is a big decision what car you go with first, and it might be a surprise to some of those who know me that I've gone with a Ferrari. I'm not the biggest fan of Ferraris, I think a few people know that, I personally, but it's a lot to do with the fact that I personally think that modern Ferraris are scientific experiments. They're not focused on what they're actually meant to be, which is a car that is interesting, looks nice, and that's really, to me, what a sports car should be. Whereas I think classic Ferraris fulfilled that very well indeed. And this is one such classic Ferrari, although, as many people will say, there will be bound to be some experts out there who will say, but it's not actually a Ferrari. Well, it is. It's the Ferrari Dino 246 GT. It was badged as a Dino, not as a Ferrari. But that is purely because Ferrari did not badge engines lower than 8 cylinders as Ferraris. That was the only reason. It was built in the same factory, it was designed by the same people. It is essentially a Ferrari. And, you know, Ferrari certainly treat them as Ferraris these days. So it is the Dino Ferrari. So we're going to have a little race here. Now I have to say, I've done some practice. And I'll be honest, I'm not very quick in this thing. It's quite hard to handle 1960s sports cars. They're an absolute blast to drive. They're fantastic, but they're not easy. So we're going to get out there and do some practice. You'll notice I'm in the chase camera. Now, I don't drive in the chase camera when I drive online or anything like that normally. But the reality of the matter is that it is better, I think, for a video to be in this particular view, because it means that you can see the car a lot better. I'm just going to turn the volume down there a little bit so that you're not getting too much feedback through the microphone. And see, I've got the shaders mod, the custom shaders patch on for Assetto Corsa, which means we get a bit of tyre smoke, it means we get the flames out the exhaust, lots of little additions that actually make this sim very good. It's the first video I've done in Assetto Corsa. I'm a big fan of Assetto Corsa actually. I think it's very well done. It isn't the most realistic of the sims, I'll agree to that, probably partially because it's actually quite old now compared to a lot of the sims, but we're getting quite a lot of tyre smoke off the front. I'm not sure if that's 100% realistic. Might need to do some changes with the custom shaders patch there, I think. So we may go into the inside view just to avoid seeing all that. So here we are. We can see we're leaving quite a lot of dust in our wake. Has a lovely interior, this car. Love the wheel as well. There's an elegance to the design of 60s cars, I think, that we've somehow lost in the modern age. It's always been my personal opinion, modern sports cars, the problem is that what they're looking to do is, modern sports cars are essentially built in wind tunnels. And the problem with that is that you're constantly looking at it as a set of math sheets, a spreadsheet if you like. And I think that that's not a good idea, because what it means is that you design a car to be the best it can be in a wind tunnel or around the Nürburgring or whatever. And people who buy sports cars, now I understand doing that for a hypercar or a supercar where it is supposed to be the peak performance, but if you're designing a sports car, sorry, Mr. Gear there, if you're designing a sports car, surely one of the most important things is that the car looks great. Not really that bothered about how aerodynamic it is, are we? Truth be told, because on the main road, out there on the road, how often do you actually notice that? I mean, it helps a little bit with fuel, but if you're buying a sports car, you're probably not that interested in fuel mileage. I just don't understand why cars are designed in wind tunnels nowadays. I personally think they should go back to doing this sort of hand-built era that they used to do a lot of the time, and for me, cars were just better looking. And I'm young as well. I was not alive back when these cars were made. I'm not some, old guy crowing about a time former gone. I believe that these cars were better because I just believe they were better. That's my genuine opinion. It's not nostalgia fueling this. Anyway, we had to drive it at this circuit because, of course, it is the Ferrari Dino, and this is the Autodromo Dino Ferrari, or, of course, now the Autodromo Enzo, a Dino Ferrari, since Enzo died in 1988, Imola. And so it seemed that it was only appropriate that the video should be done at this particular track. So a few facts about the Dino then. Well, who was Dino Ferrari, first of all, that the car was named after? Well, he was Enzo's firstborn son. He was actually called Alfredo, but Enzo's father had also been called Alfredo, so he was referred to as Alfredino. And then, of course, which means little Alfredo, and of course that was shortened to Dino. Just get through this next section because this is a section that I have been struggling with quite a lot in practice. It's a bit better. Not convinced that I'm going as fast as I probably should be doing, but we'll do our best. So anyway, Alfredo Ferrari, Alfredino Ferrari, or Dino Ferrari, he was born as the firstborn son of Enzo Ferrari, and of course it was Enzo Ferrari's idea that he would stop racing if he had a son. That was something that he'd promised his wife. Dino was born, and Enzo Ferrari followed through with his promise. He stopped racing and formed Scuderia Ferrari. He had been an Alfa Romeo driver for their factory team in the Grand Prix racing season. So, in a way, Dino Ferrari was responsible for the birth of the most famous racing team in the world, and indeed one of the most famous car companies in the world, if not the most famous car company. So certainly we have him to thank for that. Unfortunately for Dino, he developed a illness known as, and I'm trying to pronounce this as best as I can, Duchenne muscular dystrophy. Essentially, he had a muscle weakness, and this was going to sadly kill him. But it was something that really, really obviously affected Enzo deeply. His son died, but his son had been working on an engine chain for Enzo Ferrari. In fact, it was Dino's idea that the new Formula 2 regulations that were coming in the 50s should be, an engine should be developed for them. So that Ferrari could continue to go racing in much the same way they do now. Remember that in the 50s, Formula 1 briefly switched over to Formula 2 regulations. So Dino Ferrari was involved in the building of this engine, and the engine was named after him, the Dino engine series. Following on from that, the marque of cars was made. Dino himself had studied mechanical engineering in Switzerland. He was being very much groomed to be Enzo Ferrari's successor as the boss of Ferrari, although sadly, as we know, that never happened. In fact, it's Enzo's other son that you will sometimes see at Grand Prix nowadays as a shareholder of Ferrari, Piero Ferrari. He is the other son of Enzo that was born later but was much younger than Dino. It's believed as well that Dino Ferrari was possibly responsible for the Ferrari 750 Monza. Now that is a really interesting looking car, and I suggest looking up. Unfortunately, they don't appear to have it available for Assetto Corsa, and if anyone's aware of that being available, let me know, and maybe I'll do a video on that at a later point. The V6 engine was named after him, as I said, and road cars followed under the same marque. And this is the Dino 246 GT, which for me is the best of the Dino cars. I'm sure there'll be many out there that will disagree as I try to get it braked. This is the great thing about old steel drum brakes. You don't have the same thing. They are great fun cars to drive, these, but you really have to give a lot extra on the braking. We're going to go into qualifying in a moment, so that's one of the reasons I'm trying to get the informational stuff out of the way as well. I say get it out of the way. It is interesting stuff, but only to some of you, I realise that. So they produced 3,761 of these, and at the time they were released, they were sold for, if you take into account inflation, about £92,000 as I've spun out. Hang on a second. Oh dear, that was poor, wasn't it? We've got gravel beached. No, we're out. Oof, nearly ran into a car there. More cars coming on, they're just checking the track map, and we're away. So it was sold originally for around £5,600, inflation adjusted to about 92,000 in today's money. But the Ferrari Dino is one of those few cars that is actually appreciated and not depreciated. You see, it cost that much back then, but to buy one now, you're looking at more like £350,000, not 92. So that's some appreciation. It has a 2.4 litre V6 engine, as I said, less than 8 cylinders, that's why it's not badged as a Ferrari. It produces 192 horsepower, and it is a 5-speed car. 5-speed gears. And it's really good fun. I love these cars. I would love to own one, but my pocket certainly will never stretch to that. As we watch Theron Ehrenberg coming past us there. So we're going to try and get in qualifying somewhere close to what the other guys are doing. At the moment I'm about 6.8 seconds off the pace. I've not actually had any practice with these cars. It's a great car to drive this. Wouldn't it be nice if we had some classic racing out there? You know, you get the same thing when other guys, you'll know this, when you go sim racing, you are the sim racers out there, you do tend to get the same cars all the time. It always tends to be Formula 1 championships. Very occasionally you might find some GT racing or something like that, but specialist stuff's pretty rare. I mean, we don't get a lot of that. I think it's one of the reasons why iRacing is so popular, is the fact that whatever you're driving, it's much easier to find people to drive with. As we go into qualifying now, so it's a 10-minute qualifying session, and then I'm going to do a 10-lap race, although I may well cut the video short or edit elements of the video, because that is going to be about 20 minutes in these cars. But for now, let's have a look at the outside of the car while we're in the pit lane before I go and do my quali lap, if I can find the right cameras. So yeah, you can see that this particular car is a brilliant looking car. I love the front of it. I love the back of it. It really has great look. That's the footwell. That's not the cat. There we go. And it really does have a wonderful look, this car. I particularly like it in dark blue. I saw this on a TV show that I was watching fairly recently, where they had a Ferrari Dino in that colour, and most Ferraris, I agree, should be in red, but for me this car suits that colour really well. You may not agree, but that's the reason I've gone with that. So let's look through some of these. There are some interesting cameras on this car. That's the rear bonnet, isn't it? Don't think we have a lot else here. Okay, so we're going to go for a lap in a second, but yeah, lovely car. It's great interior. I went for the I forget what it's called actually. There's a specific, when you choose the car and you download the car. By the way, I will tell you who the car was made by. So this car was made, I got it from Assetto Land, which is a Wix site that you can find online. Just Google it, it's very easy to find. I actually found it just by putting Assetto Corsa mods in to Google, so it was really easy to find that, and that's where I downloaded this car. So if you're looking for cars to drive, there are quite a lot on there, and it's being regularly updated as well, so well worth having a look. And this particular car was made by X4 Fab, so thanks to X4 Fab for that. Yeah, let's see if we can go and do some qualifying. Now I'm just going to have a look in the setup, because I just want to make sure that there aren't any obvious things that I can change. Vintage 60s tyres, can't change that. Litres, 20 litres, how estimated laps, that's 12 laps, so we want to reduce that a little bit because we're only doing qualifying at the moment. ABS, does it have any? Maybe I doubt it, but maybe it does. Not a lot you can change on these cars, as you'd expect. Right, so the fastest lap of an actual... There's a couple of guys who've obviously gone off the track. Let's see what we can do here. Let this guy through because he's on his flyer. He's not going particularly fast, is he? He's being very, very cautious there. I guess I was a little on the racing line, to be honest. Right, we'll get back on the track. Definitely need to change those. What you will find with the custom shaders patch, if you download it, if you've got Content Manager for Assetto Corsa, which is a really useful tool, and I do highly recommend it, there is little sections of that that allow you to download the custom shaders patch. There's various other tools as well that are really useful for sorting your cars, so that it's easier to find the car you want to drive, particularly if you're like me and you like to collect lots of mods. It's very useful because I have a lot of cars in my collection, so it just helps me find things a lot easier. You do need a big hard drive for that though. These mods are not small. Or you can do what I do sometimes, which is I store some of the cars on an external hard drive, and then I can just swap them in and out when I need to. External hard drives are a bit cheaper than internal, so that's often a good way to do it. Ooh, getting a bit out of shape there. But the custom shaders patch, it just needs adjusting. I mean, the new tyre and smoke I'm using here, and quite clearly it's not working as well as it should be, so I'll probably turn that off for the next session I do. You can feel the car wallowing around. It's that very unique thing that you get with older sports cars, where when you go through a corner you can actually feel the car tilt through the corner, and it doesn't... I mean, all cars do that, of course, but it's much more noticeable in the older cars with the older suspensions. Right, so John Dupree has just set 2:35.184, so that's the kind of thing we're heading for here. See how we can go here. So obviously this lap is not going to be it, but we're about to go onto our flyer. Need to brake from about 200 out, because any closer than that you won't make the corner. And that was pretty good. I'm pretty happy with that. Correct a bit of oversteer. And again, oh, just about held that. Certainly will have lost us a bit of time though. Nearly up to a minute already. It just shows you, if you're used to driving Imola in a Formula 1 car, it just baffles you that you've only got here in a minute. But we are rather spoilt by those cars, I think. I like the variety though. It's great to drive something that doesn't have the same level of grip, in my opinion. Just that amount of tyre smoke is completely wrong, isn't it? Oh, we're off. Concentrate, Thomas, come on. Cut lap, detect lap will not be counted, which is not good, and I don't think I'm going to get time for another lap either, so I might be starting from the back here. In actual fact, what we may do is skip the session, because as I said, it's a long race and I don't want this video to last all night. You're probably wishing it was over already, so let's get it out of the way. So estimated laps 12.7, so we need about 21 litres. A little more frugal than Formula 1 cars, these cars. The race is just 10 laps, isn't it? So I actually don't need that much. Let's go for 17 and let's race. Some lovely colours on these cars. I quite like that paint job to the right there, actually. I don't think that's pink, is it? Is it pink? It's more like a magenta, I suppose, isn't it? Similar to pink, halfway between pink and purple. Managed to get the car off the line. Oh, brake. You'd never see this many Dinos in the same place at the same time in real life, I don't think. It'd be very unlikely. I believe they are quite rare nowadays, even though 3,500 were produced at the time. Nearly ran into the back of everybody there. But we're through. Oh, nearly lost it. Got a bit sideways there as well. We're up to 7th though. Good start. It's something that I found with a lot of sims. I don't know if anybody else has experienced this, but it almost feels like at times that in a lot of sims it feels like the cars, the AI of the AI, are faster in qualifying than they are in the race. A lot faster. And then I get to the race and they're so much easier to compete against. I've had that with a few different sims. I don't know if other people have found the same. It was a problem that you used to get a lot in the early days. I remember, and one of my gripes with the Formula 1 series, actually, Codemasters have always had this problem, I feel, because the TOCA race drivers from years ago were much the same. You have this sort of situation where certain tracks the AI are a lot better at than others as well. It doesn't feel like it's been particularly well programmed. I find that that's still the case with the modern Formula 1 games. Maybe it's just me, maybe I'm not very good at certain tracks. But to me, it feels like there are certain circuits that the AI drive much better than they do others. And as I say, maybe it's just me. Oh, we've got a tap there. Should have been watching my radar. We're okay though, no damage I don't think. So what we'll probably do is I'll race to the end of lap 5 and then we'll just end this video. I'm not going to complete the whole race because, as I say, it's going to take a long time to do that. Be great for an online race, but not much good for a video like this. Right. Now we've got a guy in the same colour Dino as me here. And we've got a run on him. Stay straight, we're through. We're up to 5th now. Oh, yellow flag. That's because one of the AI actually went off slightly there onto the grass. One car has completely taken off into the distance. We are making up positions here. We're going for 4th. Oh, he's going around the outside. He's kept it. He's kept it. Nice bit of... Oh, oh. May have been a slight touch there. Full on drifting at points with this car. We're on lap 2 anyway. And Valentin Delon is already 5 seconds up the road from everybody else. Oh. Looks like, does anyone, I think it was the Bahrain Grand Prix one year, it might have even been this year, where the dust was coming up off the track. It looks a little bit like that. Oh. We're getting 2 of them there. Oh! Managed to keep it, but I'm going to lose positions there, I think. Stefan in my wing mirror, but he's not managed to pass me. We've lost 1 position there. Oh. He's any space. He didn't need to, really. Oh! Some terrible driving by me in this race. This isn't very poor performance. Under the bridge. We're only 10 seconds down on the delta. Yeah, I have to say, Assetto Corsa does normally look considerably better than this, but it is good, I think, to highlight some of the problems with the custom shaders patch, which is that if you turn on the new tyre smoke and dust, which is obviously there, hopefully in the future to be a good addition, but at the moment, if you do it, it's not the most realistic, shall we say. So we just did a 2:35.5. Big braking by the two in front of me there. Doesn't help that they brake on the exit of corners. I'm not sure that that's really helping my cause at the minute, with the fact that I've run into the back of him a couple of times. Two silver Dinos in front of me. One of them's like a ice blue, isn't it? Oh, we're up the inside there. We've got a good exit. And we're up to third. I think we're going to struggle to catch Valentin by the end of lap 5, though, if I'm honest. Let's give it a go. We're up into second. Don't make mistakes. We're 11 seconds behind. Oh, off. It's okay. Just about held it. Block here. Got a slow down penalty. I have these in, you know, when you get these are an absolute pain in the neck. Managed to hold up everybody behind me. Okay, so we're definitely not going to catch Valentin now, who is going much faster than everybody else anyway. Oh, straight on. Keep your foot in it. Otherwise we're going to have severe problems with the gravel. Well, that went well, didn't it? What are we now? We're 10th. Bit of a gap back to 11th place, though, so we're okay there. What I would like to do at some point is, I do know that for Assetto Corsa the Targa Florio circuit is available. Now I don't know how detailed it is. I can't imagine it is particularly detailed, particularly given that that course is 100 miles long, I think I'm right in saying, or somewhere around that. So, but I would like to do something there in a classic car at some point. That would be awesome, because that circuit is, for those of you that don't know, the Targa Florio was a very long road rally race. Now, a road rally race is basically you get timed between certain points. These days, road rally races are held with speed limits applying. Whether all the competitors always obey by them is, you know, up for discussion, but that is how they're held. You may have heard of the Gumball Rally being a similar thing that's been quite popular in recent years. But that was what the Targa Florio used to, of course, be closed roads, and it was held in Sicily and on the island, and at one point I believe was basically an entire circuit of the island of Sicily, which is not, it's not small. yeah, I'd love to do a video on that. So there may be something on that if I can find the circuit again, and I can find something suitable to drive around it. I might do that, because I think it will be. It's always interesting to have those changes in scenery as well. But I'll have to test how detailed that circuit is. So we're now up to 9th. We're trying to pass John Dupree, and we're up into 8th. Where can we get back to before the end of the next lap? That's the question. Oh, I thought I wasn't going to be able to stop that then, but I did. I've had a lot of problems with that corner. Me and Valtteri Bottas both. It's an awkward corner, isn't it, Valtteri? I agree. We're up to 6th now. Just did, I don't know what lap we did that time by, actually. Oh. Have we got time to catch the 4 in front, though? That's the question. Pretty lazy driving there by myself, ending up on the grass. Sometimes, if you are really struggling to drive a car, if you feel that car, you're really struggling to get the power down out the corners, you're sliding too much, just use a higher gear. It won't be as fast, but it will stop you from sliding out the corners. And, you know, until you get used to the car, it's just an easy way of making sure you don't spin out every 5 minutes, because every 5 seconds, sorry, because that can be frustrating. So just work your way up, and then as you get more used to the way the car's handling, then start going down more aggressive with the gears and getting faster out the corners. That's what I tend to do. Sometimes there's even been times where a car's had so much power that I've done that in actual races. So in actual online races, I've ended up 5 seconds slow down to 35 kilometers an hour. Right. I do have a slight problem with that. I don't know, does it apply the same slow penalty online? Because I'm assuming it probably is down to server settings, isn't it? Which is probably just as well, because maybe a cross here again. I mean, the penalties are extremely harsh. 15-second slowdown for that. Anyway, we're coming to the end of this particular video. The Ferrari Dino then. A lovely car, great to drive. Very badly driven by me, but trust me, with a bit more practice, these things are great. I haven't driven them in some time. It's ages since I last drove this thing. So, but it is a great car, and I think one of the all-time great cars. And yeah, so this was the Ferrari Dino 246 GT. Built as an honour to the late Dino Ferrari by his father Enzo, and it's quite a piece of art, I think. One of the better looking cars of history, in my opinion. So there you are, the Ferrari Dino GT. Just pull this to the side. Look out for my next videos that will be coming up. Hopefully we'll be able to give you some more interesting things, and also we will take suggestions. So if there's a car that you're interested in, as long as it appears in a simulator, then there is a possibility we might be able to do it. So let me know, and it may just appear in either Drivers of the Years or Cars of the Years, depending on, of course, on whether it's a motorsport car or a road car. In the meantime, make sure you subscribe to my channel if you will, please, and take a look out at any of the links below, which will include mod links to the mods that you see on my videos and any other relevant information. Thank you very much.